Bang! Neeves Knives. I'm Jared, and today we're taking a look at my new TwoSun, the TwoSun TS194, a MAZWAN MOKTAR design. Now, I'm going to go through this knife and the things I like about it, go over a little bit of the negatives, but I want to talk a little bit about TwoSun and how I'm feeling about TwoSun as of lately. This one's done pretty well. I'm actually pretty happy with this TwoSun. But I can't say that as of recently. It seems like every TwoSun just comes. It's something's wrong with it, or just has a feeling to it that I don't like. But this one, pretty solid. The detent, great. The sound of it is great too. I kind of like the thwack sound. Internal stop pins, and the lockup is vault-like. Rock solid lockup. Straight clip point D2 blade with a beautiful stonewash on there. And check this out. TwoSun made a lefty. Look at that. A reversible titanium milled pocket clip. Can you believe that? TwoSun rarely ever does that. So, and it is nice and tight in there. You can tell it's inset very well. So, yeah, that's pretty cool for lefties. And this is a knife that, because it is a liner lock, even though it has titanium scales, full titanium backspacer, milled pocket clip, but it has a steel sub liner lock. So it has a liner lock screwed in on the inside. So it's going to be good for lefties. So pretty cool, you know, that it's going to be easily used by lefties, and it's also going to be easily carried. But the detent, like I said, rock solid, great action, good access to the lock bar, easy to disengage, easy to get past the detent, pretty smooth on the drop. It feels like it's going to break in more and more. I can tell the detent needs to break into the stonewash just a little bit, but not as bad as I've seen as of lately with how their finishes are. It's almost like there's no thought in the blade and how the detent is going to roll on the blade, and it, you know, but that'll break in. And this one, like I said, this one's actually really good. You can kind of hear it maybe a little bit, but it's good. It's very smooth. Now, I do have the pivot over tightened, and the reason why is there's no detent lash, but when the pivot backs out a little bit, it gets a little detent lash, which I've actually seen that in a couple of models I've recently gotten. Not from TwoSun specifically, but just period. But, you know, your pivot does need to be tight to make sure stuff like that doesn't happen. And it's solid as long as it's tight. But the ergos are good. I feel the clip quite a bit, but you know, it's okay. I can choke up really nicely. Good looking knife, solid. I like the stonewashing on the titanium too. It has a really good look to it. It's going to hide the scratches. But let's talk about some of these negative things. Oh, before that, I did slide this clip in and out of the pocket, and it works pretty well. Not the best, like not the smoothest clip of all clips, but it's good. It's not bad. I can tolerate it just fine. Now, going into some negatives really quick. One, the plunge grind too close to the edge. I don't know why. You guys had all this room in the world to make sure that the plunge grind could have been back here. Now, you know, it's relatively thin behind the edge, but it's not the thinnest geometry. So it's about 15 thousandths back here, and it tapers up to about 22 thousandths right up in here. So after I sharpen it, I'm going to lower the angle. And when I lower the angle, it's going to sharpen this out. So, you know, especially if I lower it back really far. Not that big of a deal, but it is a thing. I don't want to create a smile right there. So I'm going to try to avoid that, but we'll see how that goes. Now, my biggest complaint, biggest of them all. So, and we're going to go into this a little bit of a conversation too about TwoSun. So my biggest complaint on this is this pivot collar. That's one thing. It's a god awful pivot collar. I don't know why they have to brand the The TwoSun knives made in Yangzhou, China. Your market, I understand, like, you want to be proud of where you make your knives. I completely understand that. We do the same thing here in the USA. But when most of your knives are sold in the USA, which I would bet that most of them are sold outside of China. You know, they're not sold in China. They're sold outside of China. I'm not even sure how it is with their, you know, them with knives and everything. Anyways, the point is, though, is that we don't want to see it. We know it's made in China, but we don't want it billboarded all over the knife. And this is just, it's crazy. There's a new design from MAZWAN MOKTAR that I absolutely love. And I 100% would have bought it, and it's a very expensive one. It's like $250 right off the bat. But it's a good-looking knife. I really want it. However, the reason why I did not pull the trigger, and I have not pulled the trigger, is because it has this pivot collar. Why did I buy this one? Well, I, for some reason, could not see it. Like, just the angle or whatever it was at, I could not see the pivot collar and see the lettering around it. So, it was just either my blindness or my bad. So, either way, I wouldn't have bought this one if I would have seen that. Now, if that doesn't bother you, that's fine. You know, I have a few others that have the same thing, and I've tolerated it. But I've gotten to a point to where I've noticed that I really, really don't like it. I don't feel as good. You know, you could do like a MAZWAN MOKTAR design thing or something around it. Why does it have to say what it says around it? I don't like that. That's such a big billboarding spot, and it's a spot for you to have a really, you know, like a pop of something, but it shouldn't be words around it. You know, Zhang, China. That just, yeah. Anyways, I'm gonna you know, I'm not going to beat a dead horse. So, but what I want to kind of rant about is, you know, TwoSun, it just, you know, back in the day when I first started messing with them, you know, it seemed like it rapidly happened too. It rapidly happened that I seen TwoSun consistently improve over time. There were things that they were doing, like say when I first started messing with them, they had really thick grinds, their geometry wasn't good, their clips were horrible, and they you know, they were built fairly well, but there was just issues. And then they quickly got into some good geometry. Their clips got better. Their all-around fit and finish got better. And it seemed like they were just like really stepping it up. Like they were trying to do their best to get themselves into the knife market and do really, really good work. And then a few models that I got just so impressed me so much, like the TwoSun TS301. I absolutely love this one. But it's rare that I get this type of experience, you know, like I get on this one. And I'm not a big fan of this blade shape. So, man, I'd love this exact same knife with a different type of blade shape. And maybe that new one that he just did has that. But it also has that ugly-ass pivot collar. But anyways, my point is, though, is that I want to see more where they're done to the level of which some of their models are done, which a lot of and a lot of them are MAZWAN's designs. Like, I think that he is their best designer. He really is. But, you know, they have to do it well. And that's where it really hurt, or not hurt, you know, why am I saying hurt? That's where it really kind of upset me, was when I got a couple of MAZWAN MOKTAR's designs that weren't done well. That's when it was like, ooh, because I had never had one. Like, when I thought of the MAZWAN MOKTAR designs, I thought that these are going to be knocked out of the park, no matter what, because everyone I had tried had been. Then it stopped being like that. And so I started shying away from them. Like, man, I don't want to buy a knife and have like a 50-50 shot on whether or not it's something's wrong with it or something's off about it. So, but I still like to pull the trigger every now and then, and I do still have a little bit of faith. And the thing is, though, is that what winds up happening is you get addicted to that feeling where you get a knife like one of these, and you're like, I can't believe I got this for this much, you know, because they're done so well. But that's what that stays in the back of your head, that thought about TwoSun, that's what they are. They're a company that you can spend a little bit of money and get something so good that it makes the rest of your collection, it makes you sad about the rest of your collection. Like, this thing's way better than this $300 knife. But that rarely happens anymore, you know. There is a handful of models, a couple, you know, dozen or so models that are really, really, really good. Then there's 1,000 that are probably about 300 that are just not the best. But, you know, then there's, you know, let me take that back. There's about 200 that are not, and then 100 of them that are okay. They're good. They're good to go. They're great knives. They're not their best. So you have about 12 of them that are their best, 100 of them that are okay, and then 200 of them that are just not good. But anyways, I hate that I feel that way about them now, because I used to love them, and I still do. They still have a spot. And you know, and things can turn around, and I hope they do. I hope TwoSun hears this. I really do. I hope they start working on how they're letting knives leave their factory, for one. And one, I hope MAZWAN decides to change this damn pivot collar. This will be the last one you guys will ever see on this channel with this pivot collar. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to put my money in that. Not like that, because I'm not trying to walk around with my knife, because I won't carry it. I'm not going to carry it around with a pivot collar like that. I'm going to try it. Maybe I can sand this one down or something. But it's just not, you know, especially when you start talking about when you're spending for the $250 one, I would buy that knife. I would buy that, but it can't have that pivot collar for me to pay that much money for a TwoSun. So it just can't. Anyways, sorry for the rant, guys. I just, you know, I was happy to see this knife the way it is. I'm not happy about the pivot collar, but I'm happy to see a TwoSun that feels really good, that feels solid, no issues. You know, it feels like they did a good job with it. I hope I continue to find knives, you know, of this quality. Now, is it standing out to me like one of these? No, it's not. It's not at all. But it's still good, though. It's in the good category. I paid like $100. So is it worth that? Absolutely. For this one, it was absolutely worth it. The last one I got, yes, I think so. The one before that, absolutely not. So, decent track record. I got 2 in a row that were decent. This one feels a little bit better than the last one, though. I really like the hollow grind on the last one, but it just there's just little things. And that's what it usually lines up, or adds up to. You know, it's little things, and sometimes it's one huge thing. But anyways, this one I'm really happy with. It's done very, very well. And it is well worth the $100. I'm very happy I paid the $100 for it. Aside from the pivot collar now, but you know, take that away, I'm very happy with it. But anyways, there you guys go. I love you guys. Thank you guys for watching. Peace.